The Secret of Room 237. Level Advanced. Lilian had been working at the Grandview Hotel for 3 months when she first noticed something strange about Room 237. As the night receptionist, she was used to the usual sounds of a busy hotel. Lifts humming, doors closing, the occasional late-night guest stumbling through the corridors. But the noises from 237 were different. Rhythmic tapping, muffled voices, and what sounded distinctly like furniture being moved about. The thing was, room 237 had been empty for weeks. "You're imagining things," said Marcus, the day manager, when Lilian mentioned it during the morning handover. "That room's been out of order since the plumbing incident in February. Maintenance sealed it off months ago." But Lilian wasn't convinced. She could never forget the time when she first heard those sounds. It was precisely 2:15 a.m., and she'd been updating the guest records when a series of knocks echoed through the first-floor ceiling above the reception. Looking back on it now, Lilian realized she should have investigated sooner. Instead, she spent the following nights making mental notes. The sounds always began around 2 a.m. and continued for roughly an hour. There was definitely more than one person involved, and they seemed to be following some sort of pattern. Lilian clearly remembered the night she finally decided to act. Armed with her master keycard and a torch, she made her way up to the first floor. The corridor was dimly lit, casting long shadows that seemed to dance in the flickering fluorescent light. Room 237 sat at the far end, its door marked with yellow maintenance tape. Her heart was pounding as she approached the supposedly empty room at 2:30 in the morning. As she drew closer, she could hear the familiar sounds more clearly: gentle scraping, hushed conversations, and what sounded remarkably like music. Lilian hesitated for a moment. In all her years of working in hotels, she had never encountered anything quite like this. Taking a deep breath, she slid the keycard into the lock. The door opened to reveal not the empty, damaged room she'd expected, but a scene that made her question everything. The room had been transformed into a cozy workspace, complete with easels, canvases, and art supplies scattered about. In the centre sat an elderly gentleman with paint-stained fingers, working intently on a landscape painting. "Oh!" he exclaimed, looking up with startled eyes. "I do apologize. I suppose you're wondering what I'm doing here." Lilian stood frozen in the doorway. You should have seen the look on her face when she realized what was happening. Mr. Fitzgerald?" she stammered, recognizing the guest who had supposedly checked out 3 weeks earlier. "Guilty as charged," he replied sheepishly, setting down his brush. "I know this looks rather suspicious, but I can explain everything." What they didn't realize was that Mr. Fitzgerald had been the hotel's longest-serving guest, having lived there for nearly 2 years whilst his house underwent extensive renovations. When his project was finally completed, he couldn't bring himself to leave. Not because he didn't want to go home, but because room 237 had the most extraordinary view of the cathedral at sunrise, and he'd been working on a series of paintings capturing the changing light throughout the seasons. "I spoke with the previous manager, Mrs. Henderson, about the arrangement," Mr. Fitzgerald explained. "I pay rent for the room, but officially I've checked out. It was her idea, actually, something to do with insurance and fire regulations. The maintenance tape was simply to ensure other staff wouldn't disturb my work." The sounds you've been hearing, Mr. Fitzgerald continued, are from my evening painting sessions. I'm partially deaf, you see, so I tend to move about more heavily than I should, and I often listen to classical music while I work. Helps with the creative process. I'm terribly sorry for the confusion, he said, gesturing towards a collection of stunning paintings lining the walls. I'd be delighted to show you my work if you're interested. Lilian gazed at the canvases in amazement. Each painting captured the cathedral from a slightly different angle, showing how the ancient stones seemed to glow pink and gold in the early morning light. Little did she know that she was looking at what would eventually become a celebrated exhibition in the local gallery. Lilian agreed to return the following morning, and she wasn't disappointed. Watching Mr. Fitzgerald work was like witnessing magic. The way he captured light and shadow, transforming an ordinary view into something extraordinary. From that day forward, Mr. Fitzgerald's arrangement became official. The hotel even began displaying his paintings in the lobby, much to the delight of guests who recognized the familiar view from their windows. Looking back, Lilian couldn't believe she had actually suspected something sinister was happening. Sometimes the most extraordinary secrets are simply acts of quiet creativity, and the most mysterious sounds are just an artist at work, painting the world as he sees it, one sunrise at a time.